Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode of Haystack Nation. I'm your host, Jesse, and I'm here with Dwayne, Evanette,
Hello,
and Vanessa.
Hello.
How's it going, guys?
Going good.
It's been a while since we've all gotten together for a podcast, so this is exciting. Shake off the rust.
You got to push the button, though. The applause.
Oh, the applause button. Ooh, which one is it? I think it's this one.
It has been a while. Man, you're forgetting stuff, dude.
I'm a little rusty. It has been a while.
Do you have the rusty wheels, too?
No, I don't have rusty wheels.
Yeah, the little squeaky wheels.
Oh, I do? No, I don't. No, those are crickets.
Oh, thought you had them.
Save that for later.
Yeah, for the awkward silence. All right. Yeah, well.
We need to update the soundboard then.
We do, with some other sound effects and stuff like that. So, yeah. Like I said, shake off the rust, guys, because it's been about 2 months, month and a half to 2 months since we last, all four of us had a podcast and a nice conversation. So, you guys nervous? Are you getting those butterflies in your stomach like when we were first doing this?
Yes.
Shake it off.
Were we nervous at first?
Yeah. Have you gone back to see our old podcasts?
Probably bad, right?
You could tell there's a lot of nerves and awkwardness.
Yeah.
But
the
that's
girls
over.
seem normal, though.
This is how we are.
Actually, you guys look excited. Or, I mean, you girls look excited. Sorry.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, we've got a good podcast for today, I think. I think we have a topic that is probably on everyone's minds. And I'm sure everyone has experienced what we're going to talk about today. So this will be relevant to a lot of people. And we hope that you can find some encouragement and you find a blessing in today's podcast. We want to remind you, this podcast is also an outreach for us, right? We're trying to really reach out to other people and bring some encouragement and some words of just being uplifting, right? Do you guys think that's part of our mission here? Part of our purpose?
Yes.
Yeah, what else is there if not this?
There's nothing. If you don't have Haystack Nation in your life,
Watching TV?
you have a big, giant void.
Watching TV?
No, there's nothing good on TV anyway. What's
Yeah.
good on TV anyway?
Haystack
I
Nation.
mean, I always
Haystack
say
Nation on YouTube.
I always say there's two choices for everything, but people argue me and talk about what else is in between. But for me, the light is either on or off.
The
It's
world is
either
not all
cold or
black
hot.
and white, Dwayne.
It's either black or
It's
white.
gray.
There's some gray areas
Back in the day, there was black and white TV.
with a little bit of gray. But hey, just a reminder for everyone also, check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, and check out our library. By this point, we have quite a few podcasts and videos and stuff, right?
Yep.
So check out our library of podcasts on Spotify, Apple, what is that? iTunes, Apple Podcasts.
iTunes.
Yeah. I forget where we're at now.
Podbean.
Podbean. Yeah, Podbean also. So check us out and listen to our podcast, subscribe, and then share it with other people as well. Share our ministry with others. The last thing we did, I think, was the last thing we posted on YouTube was a soccer camp.
No, the parenting.
Parenting.
Yeah, didn't we post
Did we do one?
No, you posted the audio for the parenting.
Oh, yeah, the audio
the
one.
audio.
Right,
But
the
the
audio
last
one.
YouTube video was the soccer summer camp with the kiddos.
Yeah, so check that one out. That one was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was fun.
I-
It was hot, but fun.
Yeah, that was hot. I kind of learned to play soccer. You can check that out. That was,
Yeah, with your
Awkward.
chicken legs, right?
yeah. Hey,
Didn't the pastor from Fort Worth first say,
yeah, man, that
you
was,
got chicken legs? And then when you kick the ball, he's like, yeah, it's actually pretty good. I give that a 6.
it's like, there you go. Thank those chicken legs. All right.
Hey, but you did pretty
I
good.
did all right.
You kicked it so hard, you knocked off the coach's notepad.
Off the goalie thing there. So watch out. Watch my leg strength, everyone.
Vanessa was like, yeah, whatever. I'm the one that carries him.
All right. So we're going to be talking about fear, right? Fear and anxiety. I have a little test for you guys. I want to see how much you know fear. You guys ready for this?
our own fears or
Just fear in general. How familiar.
How fearful are we?
Very afraid. How?
Is this the test?
Huh? No.
It's like Fear Factor right now.
It is. You don't
like
know what.
you're the most.
Are you afraid of the unknown right now?
Yes.
All right. So let's see how familiar you are with fear. And there's several types of fear. So I'm going to tell you the fear, and you tell me. I'm going to tell you the phobia, and you tell me what kind of phobia it is.
Oh, okay.
All right, because there's different types of phobia, which are fear, right? So the first one is pretty self-explanatory, but social phobias.
You're afraid
Idea?
of being around people.
Yes.
Good job.
The most common type of fear is social phobia. And it's really a fear of being judged.
Oh,
Oh.
Yeah.
so
So
not
does-
really being around people.
So does social distancing help with that?
I don't know. It makes you more. I think there's more social phobia in that regard, that everyone kind of is more afraid of. Ooh, that person might be.
Maybe
Sick
people are.
and-
Maybe there's some people that have a fear of not being able to be around other people.
Or what now?
That are not able to be around other people.
Yeah. Well, that's part of that social
What
phobia.
did you call that? FOMO? Fear of missing out?
That's the one too. That's more of a social media cultural kind of thing. But okay, did you know that 1 in 20 people have a social phobia? All right, agoraphobia. What is that?
Is that afraid of spiders?
Nope.
A what?
Agoraphobia.
Agoraphobia.
I have no idea.
Oh, is it closed spaces? No,
Nope.
that's
That's
claustrophobia.
claustrophobia.
Okay, this one's actually the opposite. The fear of open spaces.
Oh, okay.
Open spaces.
What?
Yeah, it's a serious anxiety disorder that can trap people in their homes or make leading a normal life next to impossible.
So they never want to.
So they avoid specific places or venues. They don't like the big open.
Well, I
areas.
knew someone who was afraid of like the ocean because it's so open. Is it like
yeah,
that?
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
They're like,
just
I'm not
open
afraid
space.
of water. It's just like the ocean's just open space.
Yeah, it's vast,
so
right?
vast.
Very vast. Okay, acrophobia.
That's spiders, isn't it?
Nope.
Is that like acrobat?
All right, so go with that. Run with that. So an acrobat would be, what does an acrobat do? Where does an acrobat live?
Live?
Or
Oh, afraid of
where they perform.
circus?
Okay. A fear of
acrophobia is a fear of of the circus.
a fear of being
Well,
shot
not the-
out of a cannon.
Not the venue where they perform, but like the element that they perform in the most.
You're afraid of air?
Something like that. The height.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. So acrophobia is a fear of heights. I think I have that.
You said where do they live?
Well, yeah, they kind of live in the air, right? Kind of live in the heights because that's where they perform.
Gosh, we're failing.
I
This.
did not
So,
catch that.
Y'all do not know fear at all. You're fearless.
Fearless, dude. Yeah.
Okay, here's one. I can't even pronounce this one. Pteromophobia. Pteromorphanophobia. Phobia. That's a really difficult one to pronounce.
Tarot?
Yeah,
Did you say
tarot.
tarot?
Yeah, tarot. And then it's got these words in the middle, and then phobia.
Fear of number 3.
No,
Why would you say 3?
I don't need. I wouldn't even get this one. Okay, let me try to
Fear
pronounce
of
it.
Tetris.
Pteromorphanophobia. Pteromorphanophobia.
There's like
Man, that's
tarot.
Fear of flying.
it is.
Oh.
Hey, you look. You
you
cheated.
look.
I actually did see that.
Ah, she's
Cheater.
She's a
Cheater.
I was
fear
like,
of
how
not-
do you know that?
She has a fear of not being right.
Well, I got the first
Fear
two
of
wrong.
being wrong. Fear of flying.
Tarot.
I don't even know how. I was pteromorphanophobia.
Let's move on.
It doesn't get
Move
any.
on, move
It doesn't
on.
get any easier. Claustrophobia.
Ah.
You guys, you know this one.
Fear of closed spaces.
Entomophobia.
A fear of being intimate.
Not intimate phobia.
I thought that's what you said.
Entomophobia.
Oh,
Man, these are kind of hard to pronounce.
dude, just say it.
Fear of insects.
Interesting.
Dude, I have a horrible vocabulary. I have a fear of having a bad vocabulary now.
I don't know what that is. Maybe it'll come up here. Okay, ophidiophobia.
Fear of videos.
No.
Watching TV.
No. Something that Indiana Jones was afraid of.
Oh, snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cynophobia.
A fear of
I don't even get the relationship between these
a
words.
fear of following speed signs.
Fear of signs.
A fear of cynophobia, and it's not like sign like a sign. It's cyno phobia.
Like a blue?
Cyano?
No,
What'd you?
it's a fear of dogs.
Oh, really?
Astrophobia.
Fear of the space
Oh, it's close.
of asteroids.
A fear of storms.
Oh, okay.
Okay, last one, guys.
That is not close to space.
It comes from space. It can be in the space and air and the
Oh
heavens.
gosh, Jesse.
What is it? Let me guess.
Air
It lives
height.
there. It
What's the
lives
la-
there.
let me
in
guess
the
the last
surface.
one.
Stop mocking me.
Air height, same thing.
Okay, last one. What'd you say? What'd you say, Dwayne?
We have air down here without
Yeah.
air up
Spousophobia.
What?
Spousophobia.
Spousophobia? That's what I
afraid
have.
of your spouse.
Yep.
Yep. Me and Jesse.
I have a serious condition of spousophobia. Okay, trypanophobia. Last one.
Dude, just say
Afraid of
it.
triplets.
What's going on?
That's a fear of needles,
Oh.
right? Because it's kind of sounded like a fear of needles, right?
That's me.
Okay, man, that was hard.
They do-
That's what Dwayne legit has.
You really have a fear of
I
needles?
don't. It's not a fear. It's just when I see them digging in my arm, trying to get the vein, and it
Yeah.
just makes me sick to the stomach.
Well, you might have some degree of
Trypanophobia?
trypanophobia.
It's not even. I don't know. I went to get my blood drawn like
Yeah.
end of August and
How'd
for
that go?
labs, and dude, I nearly passed out. I was digging in my arm for like 2 minutes trying
Ooh.
to get the vein. I was just like,
Ooh.
"Oh, can you do something different?"
You
She's
didn't,
like, "Oh,
you
I
didn't
got
bruise
it."
up?
Yeah. Dude,
Do you look
at
away?
that.
Ooh, yeah.
Do you look away?
Yeah, it did, but just the thought that you
You have,
moving around was like, oh man.
you definitely have trypanophobia.
Yeah, maybe so, man.
You're trypanophobic.
Dude, I broke out in a sweat, and they had to put ice pack on my forehead and on my neck and the back. And
How
they
did
had to
he?
fan
How
me.
was he? Didn't pass
And
out
then
when
they
you
had to
guys were
give me-
having babies, like and
No, and I
C-section.
and I saw that. I was like, oh, cool.
Because it's not
No,
being done to him.
yeah, it's not being done to him.
okay.
I wanted to like sew it up too, but
Didn't let you.
no, of course not. I didn't scrub in.
All right. So, what did you guys think of that little test of fear there?
It's
Man,
hard.
That was hard. Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten any of those right. Maybe the only one was claustrophobia.
Yeah. That's
But-
a common one.
That's a common one. All the other ones had
What
no
about hydrophobia?
fear of water.
Is that a
That's
thing?
Jesse.
Yeah, that's me. I think it probably is. These are only 10 of the most common
What about
phobias. There's probably way more than that.
What about hydrophilic?
What is that?
It's the opposite of hydrophobia.
A love for water?
Yeah, you could say it that way. Or attracted to water.
But I mean, so fear, guys. I mean, fear is something we all deal with. What does the Bible have to say about fear? Or how do you face fears in your own life? What's that been like for you? And how do you think your own spiritual life helps you?
Are there people that are truly
with fear?
fearless in life? Like have no fear whatsoever? Or does everyone have fear too?
I think everyone has fear. Just the
Different
fears are
degrees.
different. Yeah, different degrees of fear. I mean, you may not be afraid of certain things, but maybe there's other things in your life that you are more afraid of. Like I'm sure it's pretty universal that someone would be afraid of losing a loved one,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, fear I think is just we all have fear. We all have fears of some
To a
sort.
certain degree, yeah.
Some people seem to overcome their fears. We were talking about that earlier, right? I mean, is fear healthy or is fear good? And we're saying, yeah, to a certain extent, fear can be healthy and good if it protects you. It's a protective factor. It has a protective factor.
That's true.
to it.
Like we were talking about the guy that free climbed El Capitan.
Right. So,
I mean, I wouldn't do that because I know I would probably fall.
probably
To my
you
death.
certainly would fall.
There's no
I mean,
probably
unless I was-
there.
Yeah.
You
Dude,
would for
unless
sure.
I was connected to like a helicopter. Come on, man. You just pull me up after I fell.
Well, yeah. So for example, that person there maybe doesn't have the fear of, but also there's preparation, obviously, that goes into something like that. But he doesn't have the fear of phobia.
We're just making stuff up.
Now we're just making things up. But yeah, I mean, what does the Bible have to say about fear? What are some examples that come to your mind in terms of Bible characters that maybe were in fearful situations? Any come to mind?
David, when he fought Goliath.
I think he was
He didn't
afraid.
seem fearful.
Yeah.
No, but but that was
A pretty
I think
dangerous
it was,
situation.
Yeah, a fearful situation. Nobody else in the army would fight.
Right. So they were
Goliath.
afraid, right? So what made David's experience different from the rest of the military, the Israel military? I mean, why was David so willing to confront such a dangerous situation when you had a whole military that was afraid of one man?
His faith was greater.
Yeah.
He believed in something that no one else did.
Yeah.
He spent time with his creator daily. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
He was out in the fields shepherding,
Plus, you kind of think about being a shepherd. It doesn't sound very dangerous, but what did David, deal with as a shepherd?
I want to say it comes down to what we spoke about in one of our podcasts, perspective. He had enough time to figure out what the right perspective was, right?
Yeah.
Constantly, daily communicating with God, right? And building up his trust and confidence. I mean, he was able to go through different situations, right? Where he even protected his flock from a lion. He killed a lion. Through these experiences, he saw how God protected him, right? Mm-hmm. So when he went to face the giant, he could look back on those experiences and with confidence look forward to see victory beyond the giant, right?
So in a way, David dealt with fear even before he met Goliath. He had already dealt with certain fears of, protecting, like you said, the flock from dangerous animals. And
it comes back to perspective, right? Had he not given God all the glory, had that spirit of gratitude for giving him the power to overcome that beast.
Yeah.
Right. Like we talked about gratitude, right? Gratitude is very important because that also helps build our confidence as we look back and see how God has brought us through our lives, through the many decisions that we make, through the many mishaps that we have to navigate through in life, and we come out victorious.
So I kind of imagine, David, the first time he came across a lion that was trying to eat a sheep.
Yeah.
You think about, was he like at first like, whoa, like
who just kills a lion? Who's able to just kill a lion with their bare hands, man?
Well, I don't know if he did it with his bare hands, but you think about the first time he encountered a dangerous animal like that. I mean, you think he was probably a little afraid, and
I mean, there wasn't.
But he had no choice. But
guns back then.
Well,
How
no.
else did he kill it?
Rocks,
His bare hands.
slingshot.
Yeah,
He was.
He wrestled it. He wrestled the lion.
Did he? That was just making stuff up.
Well,
I think we're talking
imagining.
about that's Samson right there. Samson's the one that wrestled the lion and
Right.
killed it with his bare hands. But think about the first time he encountered that, and maybe there was some fear, but then he had no choice but to protect the flock. And when he, I guess, successfully protected the flock or killed the lion, that must have been like a, like you said, he gave thanks to God for protecting him, for protecting the flock. And I think from there, he kind of realized that God could protect him in all these different kind of situations, right? So that's where his confidence came from. That's where it grew.
So it says here in 1 Samuel 17:34-36. I'm going to just read first. When he's telling King Saul how he protected his sheep, because remember, King Saul was like, "What are you going to do against a giant, man? Are you kidding me? Like, you're so small. You're just a kid." He goes, "Well, I went out after it and attacked it and rescued the sheep from its mouth. And when it rose up against me, I grabbed it by its mane and struck it and killed it."
Oh, wow. Okay. So it was with bare hands.
He said, "Your servant has killed
Yeah, but
both
you could have hit it with a
the
staff.
lion
Yeah.
and the bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them,
Like one of them. Yeah.
That probably
since he
gave
has
him
defied the
confidence.
armies
Yeah.
of the living God." So that's what I'm saying. Like, we always have to have that perspective of gratitude and be able to look back at how God takes care of us. I mean, the very fact that we're here alive today in the comfort of our own homes, being able to even do things like this together, you know, I mean, dude, there's so many bad things that happen to people, man. I mean,
Yeah, especially these days, right? I mean, a lot of stuff's going on.
Yeah. So,
Have you guys had an experience where you're like seriously afraid, and looking back at it, you kind of saw God's hand in it?
Nothing come to mind right now.
you've never been afraid?
I think I'm always afraid.
Do you feel? Are you a worrier? Do you worry a lot?
No, I don't think you worry. You're not a big worrier.
I'm
right?
not a big worrier. I think sometimes, I worry about silly things. Like maybe when Dwayne is not home, I worry about someone at the house. Someone's going to come in the house.
Yeah.
Those kind of things I'm pretty fearful.
Yeah.
Safety of my family.
But yeah.
What about you, Vanessa? Are you afraid of anything?
No.
I know you're afraid of losing me.
Based on what I know, since we've been
Where's your
friends, so
little-
based on what I know, she's not scared of anything.
Is that true, Vanessa?
No.
Fearless.
Are you fearless?
I just hide it very well.
Oh. So what, have you ever had an experience where you had a fear, but you saw God's hand in either protecting you from that or helping you overcome that fear? Anything that you can share publicly.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there is, but it kind of put me on the spot. And
I
so
know.
I'm,
I
like,
kind of put you guys on the spot with that one.
Got to give me time to think. So
Yeah.
We have to dig
make
deep
your-
in our memories.
You
I know. Well, that's probably true because I think those are memories that we don't register. Like, we don't necessarily hang on to those memories. Be like, oh, yeah, I remember when I was so afraid for
Right.
such and such thing. The memories we probably tend to try to, not think about too frequently.
Might be blocked out because we were
Yeah.
so fearful.
Right.
Blocked
Right.
it in our memory.
Wait, I mean, you had an experience in Dominican Republic. Dude.
Oh, yeah. We laugh at it.
I was not scared.
Yeah, it wasn't happening to you, was it?
But, you can share that.
I
Well,
was,
wait, you want me to summarize it?
I mean, I was pretty scared.
Yeah.
We were at Dominican Republic, and mistake number one, we went out in the ocean, and it was a yellow flag. You know what when they have the yellow flag out?
That means, and what in NASCAR means caution.
That's what it is.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Basically, it's
Well, in Dominican Republic, it means just get out. Don't go in that
Don't
area.
go in the water.
well,
Don't go in that particular area.
The
There-
red
Oh.
flag is like don't go in the water. Yellow
caution.
flag is like
Be careful.
Well, they should have put the red flag out.
it's windy, caution, going
There
your
was
own.
there was an area that had really strong rip currents.
Oh.
Those basically drag you back.
Oh,
into
yeah,
the-
yeah.
And I wasn't planning on going too far. We just bought the girls this tube, and we just kind of wanted to float a little bit, but the wave just kind of took us further and further to where I was like, I'm not touching the ground, and then I'm trying to push Gia towards shore, but the wave just keeps pulling me back, and then I realized I'm not a very good swimmer, or I'm not a strong swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And I got pretty fearful, thinking, like, I'm going to drown. So I'm screaming my lungs out, calling Dwayne's name. Because he's a better swimmer than I am. And I can see people staring at me. And I was like, Dwayne!
I'm sure you weren't laughing at that time, though.
No, I was not laughing. And I'm thinking, surely he's going to come out here because it's me and his other little girl. And, he wasn't coming.
His little girl.
Yeah, our little girl. And then I see the lifeguard coming, and that, made me feel a little better
Yeah.
that I was saved.
Do you think God had a hand in that experience for you there?
Oh, yes, I got saved.
You and Gia.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
a little
scary.
shaky
That is
there.
scary.
And
yeah.
when she got out, she was upset at me because I didn't come back in and get her.
Yeah.
Oh.
But epic fail on my part. No, but
Saved.
honestly, I
Well,
saw the lifeguard already going in. He's obviously trained for it. My little girl. I couldn't just leave her on there. We were in a different country.
Yeah.
On the shore there. I mean, I don't know if someone could just come pick her up and take her while I'm out there trying to bring them back in. And so,
but overall, it's just kind of a scary situation, right? I mean, where you're getting pulled into the ocean and can't get out of it, and that's scary.
Yeah,
but,
at that moment, dude, I mean, it's like, oh, what's happening? What do I do?
You looked pretty calm, though.
Oh, I was pretty calm.
he was just kicking back, drinking.
Check my life insurance on that.
Yeah. He looked pretty calm. He looked back. And
I looked at everything that was going on. I saw the guy.
Did he wave at you? Like,
well,
I
was thinking, is he hearing me? And I was screaming louder and louder. and I thought I heard him look back and looked at me.
Well,
I don't know if he thought, is she just saying hello? Just saying my name?
No, we were getting pulled in. That's why I brought Kina in.
But did you see me struggling?
Yes, I did. But I also saw that you guys were okay because Gia had an inner tube.
Yeah.
And they weren't going under.
Yeah.
And then
I was going under. I couldn't touch the ground anymore. I have the video.
We have proof. We have the evidence.
Maybe we'll show some of that footage. Do you still have the video?
Yes, you will see it. Me going.
Well, I'm glad you guys are okay. I'm glad you made it. I'm glad no one drowned.
Yeah.
All right. God had a hand in that one for sure.
Yeah,
and the lifeguard was trying to. He's like, you speak English? You speak Spanish? I said, yeah, English. He says, it's dangerous.
No kidding. Then pull out the red flag, those are pretty scary moments for sure. I'm sure I've had, scary moments. I remember one time I can recall one time I was with my sister. We were driving down I-20. If you're familiar with Dallas Fort Worth area, we were going from like Fort Worth into Arlington, and we were on the fast lane, probably going about 70, maybe 75 or whatever. And my sister was with me, and just next thing I know, there's a car headed right towards us. They had been going the opposite direction, but crossed the median on the freeway and was headed right towards us. And I mean, it happened so quick. All I could really do is like slam on the brakes and try to turn the wheel and to try to avoid, but we still hit pretty much head on. Like caught more on the passenger side than the driver's side. But, and so the airbags deployed and everything, and my sister got hurt from the airbags. She had some lacerations on her face from where the airbag hit. And then I had a broken collarbone, so I broke my collarbone. And we ended up just kind of stuck right there, right there in the medium of the highway, the freeway. So then we ended up in the hospital. Of course, the ambulance came, took us to the hospital, got us all checked out. And so the officer came in to get the report about like what happened. And so my mom was there in the hospital room. And when the officer came in and kind of took the report and was kind of explaining like, what happened, he was like, I remember him telling my mom something like, he must have had an angel or something with him because, the way the vehicles hit and the way your son was able to react to the incident, it's like basically saved their life, And I'm like, I didn't think I did anything. Right. So if anything happened, it was because God had an angel to really kind of either move the car or do something enough to avoid like a fatal accident.
Align the vehicle so that they hit it.
Yeah. And I mean, we walked away from it, with some injury, but then the other people, I believe, also walked away from the accident, with no injuries or at least alive. So, just looking back at that situation, and then just the fact that some other person saw that this is truly like a miraculous thing because, down that stretch of highway, there'd been other, head-on collisions from people crossing the median and stuff. And he's like, they usually end up in fatalities, And so I kind of think about them and I'm like, wow, Lord, thanks for preserving my life, the life of my sister, and the other people as well, think about them too. But that was a pretty scary moment. I can still kind of imagine, I can still kind of recall it in my head, the moment I saw that other car just kind of headed right towards us. Like, I just couldn't believe what was happening. And then all you do is you just react. You slam the brakes, you turn the wheel, and you just kind of hold on, you know. And we came away from that one. So
So you broke your collarbone?
I broke my collarbone. Yeah.
Where's that? Like, it's right here, right? On the
yeah,
area?
up on the close to the right here, the shoulder and the neck area.
Your clavicle.
My clavicle. Yeah. To be technically correct.
So
my
you're kind of like the Medo-Persia bear?
Yeah, I've got
on one side.
Yep. My shoulders
the bear
higher
that
on-
represents Medo-Persia. You just need the 3 ribs in your mouth.
I know, right?
The Mac ribs.
There's nothing you can do really for that kind of a break. You just have to kind of let it heal. So I do have like a little bit of a bump right here. So it's very comfortable sometimes.
How prophetic, Jesse. But I'm glad you're here, man.
Well, yeah, thanks. Yeah. So God has a hand in those kind of situations when you have those fears and things happen in life like that are very unexpected.
What about when things don't go so well? You know, because obviously
that's anger and frustration.
No, I'm saying like when people don't make it out of situations like that, and instead,
oh yeah,
is that something to be feared as well?
Like the unknown,
seeing the white light.
Well, I haven't been seeing the white light, which is good, but
well, yeah. I mean, I had a fear, man, back in just last month. I was in the hospital, pretty sick.
Yeah.
Damaged lungs and could barely breathe, dude. And while I was there in the hospital, being hospitalized for this crazy virus, I can honestly say I wasn't like fearful of death, because I was pretty critical, man. I mean, almost even on the point of being on a ventilator. Mm. But I just know that one thing that was going through my mind was that, through this pandemic, we've seen loved ones, not make it.
Right.
And church members and just, good friends not make it. And I was not scared of that, because I know that I have the hope that one day, if I should pass here, that I would be resurrected again. I mean, that's why I'm a Christian, right? Yeah. That's why we're all Christians. That it offers us something more beyond the grave, right? If that weren't the case, there would be no point to
being a Christian. Yeah.
Dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the beautiful thing, that Jesus comes to die for our sins, and then he gives us that salvation if we believe it. And not only that, he gives us the power, if we give him our wills daily, to overcome the bad things in this world,
Yeah.
But, there was a little bit of a fear, because it wasn't for myself, because I've grown up with this, and I'm so blessed to have been raised knowing these truths, because it's put me at ease. Should I pass here, I know what I can look forward to. But my legitimate fear, man, when I was there, fighting for life and, just having a hard time breathing, was that of my family, not being able to see my little girls again, because, they're my pride and joy, dude. Like, they're my best friends. Like, now that they're older, we do so much together. We go on little dates. I'll take them out to eat. We'll go study the Bible at Panera while they're eating their tomato soup. And, those were the things that I was just kind of fearful of missing out on, with them, and also
Not part of it.
No, you're not.
Who's gonna, oh yeah. And my wife, of course, is included, but
it's like Dominican all over again.
But like I'm like, what's gonna happen to them if I'm not here? So I had that fear, man, because sometimes it's just your time to rest, right? I mean, and God mercifully allows people to rest in certain circumstances, and we don't know the reason. Obviously, it's because maybe their salvation is guaranteed that way, right? And so we don't know. Only God.
I know we were all worried about you, and I was afraid I was going to lose my best friend. Not my wife, Vanessa, my best friend.
But man, that's a beautiful thing. Everyone was praying for me. I even had coworkers, dude, praying for me, that told me, one in particular is a good friend, told me that, he has never really even prayed, but
Yeah.
started praying, so that's a positive that came out of this, and we've grown closer as friends.
Yeah.
Even now more so in the truth, man, the biblical truths. And I thought that was a blessing, even though that situation wasn't ideal for me. I mean, I wouldn't want to go back through it again, but if it brings someone else to get closer to God, then and it's my lot to go through it, I'm okay with it, dude.
Do you guys think that that God protects believers more than non-believers? That almost sounds kind of bad, but is there a blessing with believing in God, walking with God when it comes to security, protection, and safety versus someone who doesn't believe in God, doesn't walk with God? Do they have those same privileges or benefits? That's a deep question.
Deep
I think
question.
they do. I think the difference is those who don't have that relationship don't necessarily see those blessings or see
Perspective.
Yeah. Or, it's different. Like someone who has that relationship notices all these instances where God had a hand in these things. People who don't have that relationship just, brush it off and think, well, I was lucky. Mm-hmm. And that's all it was. It was luck. So I think it's still the same. I just think that it's just a matter of perspective.
So let's say someone just doesn't recognize, right, God's hand in their life, or, God's working, right, or his protection, and they never acknowledge it, they never accept it, right? Does God eventually remove that protection from them since they have expressed no gratitude, they have no walk with him, they've kind of maybe even rejected that light? Does that, is it that God, is it that they push away God's protection at that point, and God can't do anything?
That's what
more?
I was going to say. Is I think people can get to a point where they become so consumed by non-godly things, right? That becomes their joy, their passion, and little by little, as their heart starts to cement in those ways, mm-hmm. you're pushing yourself away from those protections, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. That you can have when you walk with Christ. Obviously, if you're walking in his footsteps, God's gonna bless you with the you're like in a bubble, man, right?
Yeah, kind of like Job, right? But, Job, there was a hedge around Job,
right? So, is it possible to walk away or walk out of that bubble?
Yeah.
I think it is, And
I think as Christians, that's something that we pray daily, to protect our families, mm-hmm. protect us throughout the day. And we have those daily prayers. And people who don't,
we're asking God.
We're asking for a special,
protect us.
Yeah. So.
Like, I'm driving to work. Please be with us. We're going on a road trip. We always ask for protection. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like inviting God to mm-hmm. be with us.
So maybe as Christians, we seem like we probably get blessed or protected a little bit more, but I think it's because we're inviting.
Yeah. Mm.
There's an invitation there.
Be with us, protect us, have your hand on this.
So,
yeah.
So when bad things happen to Christians, what is that question that everyone always asks?
Why?
Maybe not necessarily Christians, like good people in general.
Yeah.
No, there's some people that may not claim to be Christians. They just good people. They live, they live
in a sinful world.
Good lives. They have a.
So why did bad things happen to individuals?
What we would
like
consider good people that don't really cause trouble. They're just model citizens trying to live a good, clean life, mm-hmm. Without issues. And we oftentimes ask that, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, look, if you're going to, like Vanessa said, we live in a sinful world too, right? There's a lot of bad things that happen in this world to good people, bad people. Look, look at Job's story. I mean, he was righteous, right? Yet God allowed Satan to have a hand in his life, not to take his life, but to really upset his life and disrupt his life. Mm-hmm. So these things are going to happen. But it's like, where do you want to take your chances? Do you want to, like you guys are saying, like Evan and Vanessa are saying, do we invite God into our lives and say, Lord, give us your protection? We rather put our lives in your hands, right? Than someone who doesn't ask for that, maybe even, rejects or walks away from God and walks away or pushes back, that relationship, and thus kind of forfeits a little bit of that protection. What would you rather, what would you rather do? What decision would you rather make? To put your life in God's hand and say, Lord, whatever happens, good or bad, I'm in your hands, or just kind of live life and hope for the best? I think there's a deliberate decision that you make at that point, right? Mm-hmm. I'll take a chance with life, or I say, hey, Lord, I be in my life. I invite you, protect us, keep us safe, provide your blessings, and whatever happens, it's in your hands.
Well said.
Oh, no comment. Oh God,
it was speechless. I left you all speechless.
I was processing what you were.
Process a little faster, please.
No, I just think,
are you asking a question?
No, but what's crazy? If you look at it from the other perspective, right? Like, you always get that. Why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
Well, why are bad things not happening to, bad people?
I think they
could we look at it from the perspective that maybe God, our God is very patient, man.
Yeah.
Willing that no one should be lost.
He's long suffering, right?
Long suffering, mm-hmm. Hoping that, people will turn to him, man.
Yeah.
In their wretched condition.
I kind of look at the situation that we are in today, right? Where we have disease, rampant disease. We have pandemic. We have, disruption in society. People just don't trust each other. It's like everyone's all stressed out and kind of flipped upside down, right?
Divided. Yeah.
And it's like, are these the times where we have to really invite God to be a part of our lives?
For sure.
And if someone out there is listening to this podcast, and maybe you've thought about, you maybe have a lot of anxiety, maybe have a lot of fear, maybe you're worried about things, maybe your relationships have been kind of turned upside down by everything that's going on. What advice would you give that person? What can we tell that person to give them a little bit of hope and encouragement?
I am that person. What advice?
This is an intervention right here for Evan.
From my perspective, from what I've previously been through or gone through, I would say we serve a God that still answers prayers, man.
Yeah.
A God who hears us, a God, while I was in the hospital, all I could think about, people were sending me, positive quotes, and one of them that someone sent me said, God feels all the pain you're feeling, and he sees every tear that you're shedding. He's right there with you, and he's going to get you through this.
Yeah.
And if it's according to his will, then he will pull. He pulled me out of there, Jesse, and I had some pretty damaged lungs. I was supposed to be there for a while, and I got out in a week, able to come back home and recover. And this was me praying every day. And while I was here recovering, it took a while, but it seems that right as I was supposed to go to my follow-up appointment with my PCP to see if I was ready to go back to work, like everything was just starting to feel normal, right? There's still a little recovery I have to go through, but I can honestly say I feel like I'm at 97%, and that's a pretty quick recovery from where I was
from
at.
where you were, yeah, for sure.
Just a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
And so I would tell anyone, just put your trust in the Lord. Look back at how, just go back to creation, If you believe that your God created this world, that he set everything in motion just by speaking it, and then just go through all the stories of the Bible and see how he carried his people, through everything. I mean, when all seemed lost, just look at the flood, the example of the flood. There was only 8 people that were faithful. And God took action to save them, He offered that safety to everyone should they step on the ark. And only 8 people decided to step into the refuge of the ark. And he protected them, right? Like it goes back to this bubble that we're talking about. You can say that the ark was that bubble, right?
Yeah.
Noah and his family chose to step into that bubble, and everyone else did not.
And probably also because of the influence and example of Noah, that the rest were
his family
were granted that protection,
so safety by association, right? I mean,
something like that, right? I mean they all had to make their decision as well, but
so you keep going through all these stories. Abraham, man, was such a big example of faith, right? I mean, to the point that he was, he was tested by having to sacrifice his son, right? How did he get through that? Was he not fearful?
Oh,
did he not have the same fear that I had about, his son who he loved dearly?
Yeah. Well, we know he had a lot of fear early on because remember when he would pass through Egypt and he'd tell them, hey, this is my sister, not my wife, because I want to get killed, So, I mean, he had fear in his life and he learned to, through those experiences.
But as he continually walked with God on a daily basis, that fear started to diminish because now his confidence in God was growing as his fear was diminishing, right? And you go and read this verse, 1 John 4:18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment or punishment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love. As Abraham was walking daily with God, his love was being perfected to the point that he had no fear. And I was studying this with the girls the other day. How was Abraham able to, he basically sacrificed his son like God requested. God just stopped him before he did it, right?
Like literally did it.
Yeah.
But in his mind, he was already set to do it.
It was already sacrificed. He passed the test. But how did he do it, you ask? And I was telling the girls when we were reading this story, it was like his faith was so strong because he was able to look back at everything that God had brought him through from, he just called him, right? When he was alone and said, follow me. And that's where that relationship started. And it gets to this point where the ultimate test, right?
You're right.
But he at this point, he's able to use what his experience in the past to look forward, just like David looked forward to victory. He looks beyond the sacrifice and says, well, hey, God made an oath with me that my son was gonna carry on this, this generation. He was, multiple descendants were going to come through my son. And I know God can't lie because I trust this guy.
Everything I've gone through with him.
So in his mind, I say he probably looked and said, if I sacrifice my son here, I know God's going to resurrect him. I have that confidence in my God.
He had to fulfill his promise.
Because God had to fulfill his promise.
Yeah.
So in a sense, if you think about it, when Isaac laid down on the altar, it was like if he had already died. And when he sat back up, it was like God was giving him back to him with new life, right? It's kind of symbolic, but you read that story, that's another confidence booster that we can take, apply in our lives. And then we get to our lives finally, and we see how God has brought us through.
Yeah.
I mean, so
I think, taking inventory of your life and recalling as much as possible, how God has intervened in your life, what he's done for you, whether protected you from fearful situations or, also his blessings, and using that as a starting point, to build that relationship, with him. Did that help, Evanette? Do you feel like we have successfully intervened, at least to some degree here?
My anxiety.
Have we chipped away at your, at your anxiety? But how about you, Vanessa? I mean, what advice would you give, or how would you encourage someone who is struggling right now, to be honest, with the stuff going on in the world? What would you suggest?
I think that fear is an opportunity.
Ooh, I like
and
that.
I say that because it's an opportunity. Usually when people are very fearful, they feel like they have no control over the things that are going on. So it's an opportunity to grow your faith.
It's also good.
I'm like, so rather than be afraid of fear, take it as an opportunity.
And you said
Yes.
they usually think that, or they fear like they might not have control over things, but
Yes. Because at least you have control over this. You have control to make a decision to say, Lord, I'm going to put my faith in you to handle this situation because I don't have that control. And so that's why I'm saying, like, for me, I always, when I get overwhelmed with fear of certain circumstances or whatever's going on, I always say, you know what, this is an opportunity to put my faith in God, to grow it, because these are little tests that we have. And, you know, that's what grows our faith, is these times, you know, these situations that we're put into, because I always feel like I don't have control and it drives me nuts. But the thing I do have control is giving it over to God and letting him give me peace, letting him sort out that situation.
Yep.
So
Has that given you confidence? Have you seen results from taking that approach?
yes.
And has that increased your confidence?
Yes. And I mean, sometimes I have to look back, which is, I'm thankful for those situations because now I have something to look back and say, you know what, God, you brought me through this. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what my future was going to look like. And you brought me through that. So I have no doubt that you're going to bring me through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's great advice. You know, I think that is a good way to kind of begin to wrap up this podcast and basically just saying, just start somewhere. I mean, if you're struggling and you're afraid or you have anxiety, you have fear, just start with that small prayer.
Yeah. And if you're someone who just doesn't trust anyone, just give God a chance.
Yeah. What do you got to lose?
Give him a shot. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yeah.
You know?
If anything, you start giving God a chance, maybe you start losing that fear that you have about the things that are going on around you.
I'm telling you, man, coming out of these, you know, Vanessa's absolutely right. I had this conversation with another group of friends. We had a prayer group, and you know, a lot of them had gone through similar circumstances or situations like what I went through, and we like kind of redefined the word test, right? Like we said, you know what? Why are we calling it tests? These are like just spiritual opportunities to grow your faith and your confidence in God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really just grow in Him. Be ready for anything. I mean, you can face anything with Him by your side, you know. And maybe we haven't faced that giant in our lives, but we know that one day it's going to come.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to come.
And are we going to have that confidence that David had, you know?
Yeah.
That faith that Abraham had.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you feel you're not at that level, you know, you feel like, oh man, these people in the Bible just had this amazing faith and they could overcome anything. You know, you got to remember that was a journey for them.
Hey, and they're people just like us.
They were people just like us. Yeah.
God used ordinary people to do great things. All they did was give them their will. That's all they could give them. They couldn't make promises. Okay, I promise. We all know that our promises and our desires for being good and hopes of being able to accomplish things. I mean, that's all wishy-washy.
It's all meaningless.
Just, you know, look at Moses.
Right.
Moses didn't even want to go to Egypt. He was like, "You can't send me, God. Right. There's no way I can go."
A lot of the great Bible characters struggled, you know, at some point with their faith, but it was that desire to, you know, take opportunities to give it to God. And specifically, you know, in our time, it's letting Jesus into your life. I mean, if you are struggling with these kind of things, it's, you know, it's as simple as saying, Jesus, I just want you to be a part of my life. You know, you know, I'm worried, you know, I'm anxious, you know, I'm scared, you know, sort it out, you know, give me peace. Send me, workout situations, for me, so I can see your hand in things. And if you have that perspective and you have that open-mindedness, then you'll begin to see and perceive how God is leading and how Jesus is working in your life. And so I think the best advice is to collect yourself, start with Jesus with a simple prayer, invite him to work in your life and have a hand in your situations and see what happens. Be open to that.
Yeah, forget the milk crate challenge, man. All these people doing these milk crate,
a waste of time.
Take a challenge and just give God a chance, right?
Yeah,
no need to be walking around with fear. No,
That's a great point. Why are people doing all these silly nonsense challenges, and then you come with some so simple, and it's like asking the world.
And then some of them even fall off the crates and get hurt. Then they're scared of getting back up on the crates.
Cratophobia.
Cratophobia. But
right.
yeah, man, it's walk daily with your Creator. Pray to him. Enoch walked with God for 300 years, man.
Yeah.
It says, and I guarantee you that guy had no fear at the end of it. Perfect love.
I'm sure he has no fear now because he's in a better place.
He's probably scared for us. He's probably scared for us right now.
But yeah, I envy Enoch right now. But God has a plan for all of us, and so what we'll do are, we just got to put our lives in his hand. Thanks, guys. That's it's a difficult subject, it's a hard one to talk about, fear and
in a world where there's just so much going on right now.
There's so much of it out there, man.
Information that's flooding our minds. There's people on opposite ends of the spectrum. You can have a healthy balance, right? With the one that doesn't change.
Right. I like that. Yeah, and it's all in the scripture. It's all in the Bible. That will bring a balance to your life like you probably don't even imagine.
Absolutely, man.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Evanette. Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you, Jesse.
We'll see you guys back here next time on Haystack Nation. You guys take care and be safe. Have no fear.
Happy
God bless.
Sabbath, by the way.
Happy Sabbath, guys.